Order. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? All right, do I have a second? Okay.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Is there a motion to introduce the Israeli Funds Reallocation Act by Representative Ahmed from the Foreign Policy Committee? Do I have a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The chair now welcomes Representative Ahmed to give opening remarks.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is an ongoing issue that is getting worse by the day. A nation once known as Palestine was given to a displaced group of people escaping persecution from Europe. Palestinians were angry that their land was being taken away, and the people of the Israel state were angry because they felt entitled to this land, being that it was outlined for them by the UN. Ultimately, what started as an effort to give up prosecuted and displaced people a home led to war, killing, and supplementary displacement of Palestinian people instead. My bill is focused on helping the innocent citizens of both nations who are stuck in this horrible situation and need help to escape it. The money sent to Israel isn't used for prosperity's sake or America's core beliefs of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but for the pursuit of power over another nation of people. Quote, today, almost all U.S. assistance to Israel is in the form of weapons and weapon grants. America is a huge contributor to the continuance of violence plaguing the Palestinian-Israeli nation. Israelis often attack the Gaza Strip with missiles and control who enters and exits the Gaza Strip, where a majority of the Palestinians reside. The weapons needed to carry out the Palestinian oppression cannot be sourced from anything other than foreign aid. Since these countries are so poor, the upper hand will always be with Israel, and their opposers will resort to terrorism and desperate efforts to defend themselves. This bill will not only benefit the refugees, but America as well. Refugees are the backbone of our country, and they bring so many societal, economical, and political benefits along with them. They are hardworking and give back to the countries that host them. America's funds should be used to uphold refugee efforts that ultimately bring prosperity, rather than being used for weapons and oppression that ultimately brings destruction, war, and conflict. Thank you.
Is there a motion to caucus? Do I have a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. We will caucus for 5 minutes. discussion of the bill limited to 5 minutes with 30 seconds per representative. The floor now yields 2.5 minutes to the Republican representatives at the microphone. There's been a motion to extend the caucus. There's been a motion to extend the caucus by 3 minutes. We will resume then.
So I don't know how to name one.
So no. Yeah, but the thing is, we're gonna add a place to it.
We haven't been allies declared as an independent state. I owe my time.
You know what I'm talking about? Instead of voting with like, you know, support, like, financially.
If Israel is defunded, it would give Palestine terrorist groups an opportunity to reach other regions or nations.
The U.S. supports its allies, which is why we have supported Israel since they have become a country. Moving our support could be detrimental to our relationship with Israel and other countries.
Palestinian terror organizations have gone as far to use unceased mortar and rocket fire from the Gaza Strip on Israeli civilians.
Because of our relationship with Israel, we are economically stronger. In 2011, U.S. exports in the Middle East reached an all-time high of $56 billion. The top 5 U.S. exports to Israel are diamonds, machinery, agricultural products, aircraft, and optical and medical instruments.
The Palestine is not part of the UN, whereas Israel is, and if we stop helping Israel, it couldn't break many treaties with them and cause more wars or stuff like that.
Okay, I kind of just got thrown up here, but I would like to talk about the matters in which Israel is not our greatest ally. The Israeli government has committed multiple attacks against the United States before, one of which being the USS Liberty, where Israeli aircraft and boats attacked a US ship under the United States Navy, killing a majority of the crew. Another incident was the Lavon affair, where the Israeli government planned multiple false flags that targeted many different groups, including Americans. I yield my time.
The floor now yields 2.5 minutes to the Democrat representatives at the microphone.
I'm in support of this bill. The U.S. has stated their support for a two-state result to this 70-year conflict on multiple occasions. Yet our money clearly is not creating peace, so instead should we go to support those displaced and not support a conflict that is not resolving.
This conflict has been going on for too long, since 1947, and I think it's about time to put an end to it. The Israeli government has proven time to time violating human rights of Palestinian people, and as a democratic state, we should step in and help the government at its fault for violating human rights. I yield my time.
If we don't support Israel and the lack of funding, we could lose a friend in the Middle East, a region that's very hostile to the U.S., and also leave them exposed to attack from other hostile nations. I yield my time.
A lot of people are worried about losing a friend in the Middle East being Israel, but Israel is one nation, and a lot of the countries around Israel do not support Israel. So America right now they have the ill will of the Arabs because Arabs do not support the Israeli state because of what they're doing to Palestinian people. So America cutting ties with Israel could open doors to a lot more alliances with other Arab countries in the region. Thank you. Thank you for my time.
I support this bill because there's no additional funding needed to carry it out since we're reallocating the funds that we already give Israel.
Although we are allies with Israel, we should not just blindly support them, and we should think about the innocent people instead.
The time for discussion is now closed, and we will recess for 5 minutes before a roll call vote. The meeting will come back to order. When voting, we will do so by committee. Committee chairs, please count the number of hands raised and write down on your index cards. Republicans seated on the aisle do the same. Whips will collect the cards, step to the microphone, and read them into record. All those in favor of the bill, raise your hand. Committee chairs and aisle assistants, please count the hands and report it on your cards.
Stick it up high. this card needs to be on top for him to win. Does that make sense? They're going to call him in a specific order. So if they're not ready, just stay until they're ready.
Democrats of Education 1, how do you vote?
We vote 8 yes and 1 for no.
Republicans of Education 1, how do you vote?
0 yeah and 2 no.
Democrats of Education 2, how do you vote?
We vote 7 yes and 4 for no.
Republicans of Education 2, how do you vote?
3 no and 0 yes.
Yes.
Democrats of Science, Space, and Technology 1, how do you vote?
6.
We have 6 yes and 0 for no's.
Republicans of Science, Space, and Technology 1, how do you vote?
We got 0 yes and 4 no.
Democrats of Science, Space, and Technology 2, how do you vote?
We have 6 for yes and 0 for no.
Republicans of Science, Space, and Technology 2, how do you vote?
We got 0 yes and 5 no.
Democrats of Small Business 1, how do you vote?
We have 2 for yes and 4 for no.
Republicans of Small Business 1, how do you vote?
We got 0 yes and 4 no.
Democrats of Small Business 2, how do you vote?
We have 7 for yes and 0 for no.
Republicans of Small Business 2, how do you vote?
We got 0 yes and 4 no.
Democrats of Transportation, how do you vote?
We have 5 for yes and 0 for no.
Republicans of Transportation, how do you vote?
We got 1 yes and 1 no.
Democrats of Judiciary 1, how do you vote?
We have 6 for yes and 0 for no.
Republicans of Judiciary 1, how do you vote?
We got 0 no. We got 0 yes and 3 no.
Democrats of Judiciary 2, how do you vote?
We have 5 for yes and 0 for no.
Republicans of Judiciary 2, how do you vote?
We got 0 yes and 4 no.
Democrats of Foreign Policy 1, how do you vote?
We have 4 for yes and 1 for no.
Republicans of Foreign Policy 1, how do you vote?
We got 4 yes and 4 no. 4 no. Wait. 0 yes and 5 no. 5 no.
Democrats of Homeland Security, how do you vote?
We have 5 for yes and 0 for no.
Republicans of Homeland Security.
We got 0 yes and 3 no.
Democrats of Armed Services, how do you vote?
We have 4 for yes and 1 for no.
Republicans of Armed Services, how do you vote?
0 yes and 6 no.
It's not up here. It's not on the script, but alright. Foreign Policy 2. Democrats of Foreign Policy 2, how do you vote?
We have 7 for yes and 0 for no.
Alright, Republicans of Foreign Policy 2, how do you vote?
Three no and 0 yes.
Alright, with a vote of 73 in support and 58 in opposition, this bill passes. The ayes have it. Alright. The chair now welcomes Representative Nicole Holland and Janine Boyce. Janelle! I'm sorry, it's written Janine. I'm sorry. Alright.
Do you have your phone? I need to read out that. Now she knew In recent years following the 2020 Black Lives Matter movement, racial tensions and divides have been high throughout the U.S. Conservatives have fought to silence minority voices during these culture wars by restricting discussions surrounding race in our classrooms and labeling critical race theory, also known as CRT, as a radical way of teaching our youth about the concept of race. CRT is defined as the intellectual and social movement and loosely organized framework of legal analysis based on the premise that race is not a natural, biologically grounded feature of physically distinct subgroups of human beings, but a socially constructed category that is used to oppress and exploit people of color.
Oppressors of CRT, mainly white Americans, feel as if CRT promotes anti-right and devises un-American propaganda, and suppose that ignoring the perspective of minority groups that have historically suffered under the hands of our government will heal all racist tension and divides in this country, but in reality, it does the opposite. As a country, we have not been able to thrive successfully as a whole because we decided to sign for the past and not address the excessive amounts of abuse and turmoil Black people and POCs have endured by the U.S. government. The excuse of turning white children's buildings is a term coined by ignorant and privileged being. Once again, the country has failed to protect and hear the voices of Black and POC children. The banning of CRT gives white children and parents the notion of being the victim in a situation that neither hurts or helps.
The term CRT is being used as a catch-all word that covers any discussion surrounding race, using it as a scare tactic to trick voters into thinking that there is a curriculum teaching children about critical race theory, a class aimed towards law majors. There is no supporting evidence that suggests CRT is being taught in K-12 classrooms, yet our own government has made efforts against teaching CRT. Conservatives are painting CRT as a radical and obsessive way of thinking about race and claiming it inspires violence towards white people, further leading to more racial tension in this country. In actuality, CRT is inspiring responsibility to correct systemic abuses. Punishing the voices of Black and POC students, but proceeding to protect the feelings of our white peers bluntly shows that America repeatedly has passed on the superiority of being white for generations.
Supporters suppose that ignoring the perspective of minority groups that have historically suffered under the hands of our government will heal our racist tension and divides in this country, but in reality, it does the opposite. On January 15, 2022, Governor Glen Allen banned the topic of critical race theory and other diverse concepts on race and divide in our community. Governor Ron DeSantis signed the Stop Woke Act into law and banned AP African American Studies course in Florida in a letter written to the College Board. Florida's Board of Education stated that AP African American course is inexplicably contrary to Florida law and significantly lacks education value.
Alright, is there a motion to caucus? Do I have a second? I second. Alright. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We will caucus for 4 minutes. Oh, my fault. All those opposed? I will remember that. 5 minutes, okay, 5
for another minute. Motion. 3 minutes. You gotta be called on first. Hang on. Wait, we don't recognize you.
Representative Carollos.
Say it.
Motion to caucus. 3 minutes.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. All right, hand vote.
Get in your rows. Get in your hand vote.
All those in favor, please raise your hand.
CRT is not taught by their own admission, so why would they introduce it now?
Our parents deserve the right to know and control what the students are learning.
I find this act extremely hypocritical because the United States government has oppressed many different groups of people, but it all turns on a blind eye. You ignore it all. For example, during the Mexican Civil War, the Cristeros, Catholics, who were oppressed by the atheistic government, the government was supported by the United States. Native Americans are half the time forgotten. The government's funneling the assortment of drugs and alcohol, leaving them servile. And then many groups, such as the
The floor now yields 2.5 minutes to the Democrat representative.
on in our environment and our community. If we don't have a say, then we won't be able to have what we should have in the environment that we live in today.
AP African American Studies is only offered in select schools. Only 60 high schools across the U.S. are allowed this expansion of valuable truth for knowledge.
Many American systems were created when people of color were denied full participation in American society. Therefore, CRT calls for radical reordering of societal structures. I yield my time.
Critical race theory bans will continue to perpetuate structural inequities and systematic racism. I yield my time.
14 states in the U.S. have already formed some type of ban on the CRT, but still continue to teach on core subjects. This bill encourages students to be more understanding and well-educated when it comes to their peers' culture and history.
This bill will help minorities feel more accepted in a space they feel their voice isn't heard, and learning more history other than just like slavery.
Teaching CRT in schools would help youths understand how bias and oppression are institutional, structural, and systematic, not simply interpersonal.
We should support this bill because it prevents the formation of racially discriminatory beliefs that are more often than not caused by ignorance or the lack of education.
CRT needs to be implemented in schools because if our history isn't taught, it will be forgotten.
We need our students to be knowledgeable on these subjects to be able to not repeat the mistakes. I yield my time.
Erosion of voice will make school feel like a second place for minority students. I yield.
This meeting will come back to order. When voting, we will do so by committee. Committee chairs. The time for discussion is now closed. We will recess for 5 minutes before our roll call vote.
Informal discussion, informal discussion, informal discussion.
By committee. Committee chairs, please count the number of hands raised and write down on your index cards. Republicans seated on the aisle do the same. Whips will collect the cards, step to the microphone, and read them into record. All those in favor of the bill, raise your hand. Committee chairs and aisle assistants, please count the hands and record it on your cards. All those opposed, raise your hands. Committee chairs and aisle assistants, please count the hands and record it.
We vote 9 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Education 1, how do you vote?
0 yes and 2 no.
Democrats of Education 2, how do you vote?
We vote 8 yes, 0 no.
Republicans of Education 2, how do you vote?
0 yes and 3 no.
Democrats of Science, Space, and Technology 1, how do you vote?
We vote 6 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Science, Space, and Technology 1, how do you vote?
1 yes, 3 no.
Democrats of Science, Space, and Technology 2, how do you vote?
We vote 6 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Science, Space, and Technology 2, how do you vote?
5 no, 0 yes.
Democrats of Small Business 1, how do you vote?
We vote 7 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Small Business 1, how do you vote?
0 yes and 4 no.
Democrats of Small Business 2, how do you vote?
We vote 6 yes and 1 no.
Republicans of Small Business 2, how do you vote?
2 yes, 2 no.
Democrats of Transportation, how do you vote?
We vote 5 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Transportation, how do you vote?
0 yes, 2 no.
Democrats of Judiciary 1, how do you vote?
We vote 6 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Judiciary 1, how do you vote?
1 yes, 2 no.
Democrats of Judiciary 2, how do you vote?
We vote 5 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Judiciary 2, how do you vote?
0 yes and 3 no.
Democrats of Foreign Policy 1, how do you vote?
We vote 5 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Foreign Policy 1, how do you vote?
0 yes, 5 no.
Democrats of Foreign Policy 2, how do you vote?
We vote 7 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Foreign Policy 2, how do you vote?
0 yes and 3 no.
Democrats of Homeland Security, how do you vote?
We vote 7 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Homeland Security, how do you vote?
0 yes, 4 no.
Democrats of Armed Services, how do you vote?
We vote 5 yes and 0 no.
Republicans of Armed Services, how do you vote?
0 yes and 3 no.
This bill passes. Is there a motion to introduce the Border Patrol Act by Representative Green and Wright of Homeland Security Committee?
I motion. I second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it.
The chair now welcomes Representative Green and Wright to give opening remarks.
Fentanyl is one of the most dangerous drugs we have ever seen, and it is plaguing our country. China owns 98% of precursor chemicals that are used to make fentanyl. Mexican cartels are using these chemicals in high-tech laboratories to make fentanyl pills or other drugs with this deadly chemical. These drugs are being smuggled into the United States via border checkpoints. Once they enter the United States, they are practically untraceable. American government authorities need to enforce this bill because it will bring an end to the chemical trade between Mexico and China, and it will limit the amount of drugs entering through border checkpoints and will ultimately reduce the amount of deaths of American citizens due to drug overdose. We'll reach a more safe drug environment in the United States by placing sanctions on China, banning the manufacturing and shipping of fentanyl products to Mexico or any other rival of the United States. Border Patrol policies will will change, causing the trafficking of fentanyl or any illegal substances to be greatly impacted. We'll be working with the Drug Enforcement Administration to fund necessary training for the Border Patrol agents that will be required to enforce new policies and techniques, resulting in a more thorough border crossing process.
Thousands of Americans die each year due to illegal drugs that have crossed the U.S. that has crossed our southern border. The U.S. Southern Border Act would help stop the smuggling of such drugs. It would also stop the illegal immigration of dangerous gang members and terrorists coming into the U.S. The U.S. is also one of the world's hotspots for human trafficking, and the border would help greatly impact that. This bill would also help save lives of the U.S. citizens and protect the U.S. in its entirety. The border will also create new and better refugee centers for refugees that are trying to become U.S. citizens.
Is there a motion to caucus? Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, we will caucus for 5 minutes.
In danger due to the introduction of fentanyl into the United States through the border.
Fentanyl is 100 times stronger than morphine and also a lot cheaper to source and manufacture.
23,264 people with criminal records have been apprehended at the border in the 2022 fiscal year.
Millions die each year by illegal drugs.
In 2021, the number of drug overdose deaths in the U.S. surpassed 100,000. Fentanyl trafficking has increased 900% over the past 4 years.
In the last year, 170,000 Americans died from, the last 2 years, 170,000 Americans died due to fentanyl or fentanyl-laced overdoses.
There were nearly 1,500 shipments that contained 196 million in counterfeit goods.
Many companies exploit the fact that they do not have to disclose their beneficial ownership information.
Many human trafficking victims were first substance abusers being lured in by illegal drugs.
This will stop human trafficking at the border and in the U.S.
In 2016, there was an estimated 40.3 million people in modern-day slavery due to human trafficking.
With effective border control, it would not just stop illegal drugs, but also illegal assault weapons, causing shootings in America to go down significantly. 66 people marked on the terror watch list were caught trying to cross the border in the 2022 fiscal year.
The floor now yields 2.5 minutes to the Democrat representatives at the microphone.
I just want to point out, if you read the last line of Section B, it says that, it says that the United States would have no choice but to take military action on China. Why would, if you really want to take military action on China just because of fentanyl and risk just destroying the earth because of some fentanyl abuse? What the heck? That's right. Like seriously, why would you do this?
The wall could impede the natural flow of floodwaters, resulting in damage and erosion, as well as causing harm to wildlife.
I just want to let people know that drugs can also be made in the USA.
All I'm saying is, a war would take more lives than drugs. And I'm just saying, this law would probably add more discrimination against immigrants trying to cross the border because people are like, oh, they got them drugs.
This bill will highlight racial discrimination against Chinese and Mexican people and will blame mostly China and Mexico for all drug problems.
saying that your main concern with the U.S. citizenship is safety for actual U.S. citizens, but then willing to go to war with one of the biggest national threats in the world on equal power as far as like nuclear weapons is really hypocritical.
The southern border interferes with tribal sovereignty as ancestral land straddling the U.S.-Mexico border will be interfered with, and building the wall will be completely immoral.
People will still try to find creative ways to smuggle the drug into the country. This would make no difference.
The vast majority of U.S. manufactured products come from China, so furthering or making relations worse would be bad for the economy.
Reducing the supply of the drugs won't stop people from getting addicted in the first place.
Drugs come from other countries than China, so there will still be drugs in America.
A southern border doesn't stop fentanyl imports from China to America. So if the border was to truly